debt management, and the overall management of the economy. I will give details in the course of this press conference. But it is more shocking that an opposition that has condemned all that this administration has done will turn around to weave its so-called economic blueprint around the same things that are currently being done by the same administration. This press conference, therefore, is aimed at exposing the hypocrisy, deceit, and emptiness inherent in the opposition that condemns an administration while also showcasing the blueprint that is nothing but a poor version of what is on ground today. Let's start with the infrastructure. The former Vice President said in his economic blueprint, and I quote, rebuilding infrastructure and reducing infrastructure deficit will enhance the carrying capacity of the economy and unleash growth and wealth creation. End of quote. No one understands this better than the Buhari administration. Even our worst critics will agree that our record on infrastructure development is next to none in the history of this country. Across the country, this administration has constructed 8,352.94 kilometers of roads. We have rehabilitated 7,936 kilometers of roads. We have constructed 299 bridges. We have maintained 312 bridges, and in the process created 339,000 jobs. We have also delivered houses in 34 states of the Federation under the first phase of the National Housing Project. We were able to achieve this through a combination of budget increase and innovative infrastructure financing methods. Whereas we met a budget of 18.132 billion for the roads component of the Federal Ministry of Works when we assumed office in 2015. The budget for the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing increased exponentially to 260 billion in 2016, 274 billion in 2017, 356 billion in 2018, 223 billion in 2019, 227 billion in 2020, and 241 billion in 2021. Therefore, for anyone using this as a campaign stunt without acknowledging what we have done so far is cheap, dishonest, and disingenuous. The former Vice President also promised to break the jinx in infrastructure financing. Really? We state unequivocally that the worst jinx in infrastructure financing is that of the PDP administration from 1999 to 2015. Indeed, the Buhari administration has long broken that jinx, leveraging on such innovative schemes as the Presidential Infrastructure Development Fund, which, by the way, is being used today to finance the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, the second Niger Bridge, and the Abuja-Kaduna-Zaria-Kano Road. Another innovation of ours is the Sukuk, which has delivered a total of 1,881 kilometers of road between 2017 and 2020. And of course, there's a road infrastructure tax credit scheme, which we're using for the construction and rehabilitation of Lokoja, Obajana, Kaba, Ilorin Road, for the reconstruction of Apapa Wharf Road, construction of Apapa Woronsoki, Ojota Road, and the Bonibodo Road Bridge. The NNPC funded part of the road infrastructure tax credit scheme is also delivering 9 roads in North Central, 3 in Northeast, 2 in Northwest, 2 in Southeast, 3 in South-South, and 2 in Southwest, for a total of 1,804 kilometers of roads. In the area of power, ex-Vice President Atiku Abubakar said, and I quote, "Investments in additional generation capacity are futile without consideration for the complementary transmission and distribution infrastructure to wield the additional energy." End of quote. He then promised to propose legislation to, among others, give states the power to generate, transmit, and distribute electricity. It is apparent that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has not heard of the CMS partnership with the federal government under the Presidential Power Initiative, the most ambitious project yet in the effort to improve the seemingly intractable power sector, on which the PDP frittered over $16 billion to procure nothing but darkness. Recall that the Nigerian CMS partnership was consummated with the signing of the implementation agreement on July 22nd, 2019. The 3-phase project will deliver 7,000 megawatts in the first phase, 11,000 megawatts in the second phase, 25,000 megawatts in the third phase. This will positively impact job creation, boost investor confidence, accelerate economic growth, and reduce cost of doing business. For those who may be in doubt, let me say that this project is a game changer. As you may have read, electricity equipment ordered under the project have already started arriving in the country. When they are installed, there will be major improvement in supply of electricity across the country. It is also amazing that His Excellency former Vice President has not heard or read that the Senate has already passed the Electricity Bill 2022 that will allow states to generate and distribute the power as well as solve the sector's challenges. Atiku Abubakar also spoke on poverty reduction, which he said, and I quote, will be the centerpiece of our economic development agenda, end of quote. Could it be that His Excellency Atiku Abubakar has not heard about the National Social Investment Program, the unprecedented program that is directly and indirectly impacting the lives of poor Nigerians and creating jobs, especially for the youth, through 4 clusters, namely the Empower program, the Government Enterprise and Empowerment program, the National Homegrown School Feeding System, NHGSFP, and the Conditional Cash Transfer, CCT. From 2016 to date, the NSIP, which has received commendation from many international agencies across the world, has empowered 1 million youths, while another 500,000 are undergoing various training under the Empower program. It has enrolled 1,632,480 households in the Conditional Cash Transfer program and gave productive cash grants of 150,000 each to 4,234 people. The NSIP has also stimulated unprecedented enrollments in public primary schools through the National Homegrown School Feeding program that is today feeding some 9.8 million children, while there are 2,424,253 beneficiaries of the Government Enterprise Empowerment program, loans under trader money, market money, and farmers money, in addition to a total of 1,142,073 individuals who have registered to benefit from JUP 2.0 under the 3 loan products. These programs represent a practical demonstration of the progressive achievement of the President's target of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty by 2030. The former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar, told his audience that if elected, his administration would, and I quote, establish a strong partnership with the private sector in investing in infrastructure, creating jobs, income, and in the fight against poverty. End of quote. Let's inform His Excellency, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, that the Buhari administration's warm handshake with the private sector has already delivered and is delivering an unprecedented number of projects, including the 650,000 barrels per day Dangote refinery, the Dangote Fertilizer plant, the Lekki deep sea port, the Bua cement, the 5,000 barrels per day Watersmith modular refinery in Imo State, the 2,500 barrels per day Lupo modular refinery energy park in Edo State, the 2,000 barrels per day Atlantic modular refinery in Bayelsa State, the 12,000 barrels per day Ezekiel modular refinery also in Bayelsa. It's also delivering the 5 LPG bottling plants and 6 LPG depots in 10 northern states and Abuja. It's delivering the 48,000 liters per day base oil production plant in Rivers State and the 10,000 metric tons per day methanol production plant also in Bayelsa, just to mention a few. These refineries and other oil and gas related projects are as a result of a warm handshake between the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board and the private sector actors under this administration. The private sector is also a major player in our ongoing infrastructural development through the road infrastructure tax credit scheme, which I mentioned earlier. Shockingly, the former Vice President seems to know little or nothing about the Buhari administration's unprecedented efforts to make fertilizer available at affordable prices to Nigerian farmers, and how global developments have negatively impacted on the price of fertilizer today. When he said, and I quote, "Farmers now pay 200% more for a bag of fertilizer if they see it than they did in 2020. End of quote. This is an unfortunate statement that reflected total lack of understanding of the dynamic and the issues at stake. The Presidential Fertilizer Initiative, PFI, which was flagged off in December 2016 by President Muhammadu Buhari, aimed to support domestic blending of NPK 2010 fertilizer in order to reduce the challenges being experienced by Nigerian farmers. The PFI has delivered on its key outcomes, including producing over 30 million bags of 50 kg NPK 2010 equivalent during the project period, and price reduction of fertilizer from over 10,000 to under 5,500. Over its 5-year run, the programs succeeded in increasing the number of blending plants from only 4 in 2015 to 72 through the rejuvenation of 68 moribund blending plants all over the country, creating hundreds of thousands of indirect jobs and thousands of direct jobs in the process. But a number of factors which are beyond this administration's control has led to the current situation in which the cost of fertilizers rose to between 15,000 for NPK 2010 and 23,000 for NPK 15. These factors include a threefold increase in the global cost of natural gas, a primary feedstock in fertilizer production. The COVID-19 shutdowns of key raw materials, manufacturing plants, sanctions imposed on Belarus and Russia, occasioned by the war between Russia and Ukraine, and the impact of significant domestic inflation on global and in-country logistics and transportation fertilizer raw materials. It is also pertinent to recall that President Buhari had negotiated a fixed price for phosphate at $290 per metric ton and a fixed discount of $15 per metric ton for potash from the governments of Morocco and Russia, respectively. The Presidential Fertilizer Initiative used to purchase raw materials at these prices for 4 years, between 2017 and 2020. From 2021, however, upon the restructuring of PFI, raw material purchases could only be carried out at globally traded prices. To underscore this means you must also understand that phosphate prices increased 320% from $290 per metric ton in 2017 to $1,255 per metric ton in 2022. Potash prices rose by 364%, moving from $256 per metric ton in 2017 to $1,187.5 per metric ton in 2022. While urea prices rose by 246% from about 300 metric ton in 2018 to $1,037 metric ton in 2022. Under this development, can any magic keep the price of fertilizer at what it was before this astronomical increase in the cost of production? His presentation, former Vice President, and I quote, said, and I quote, Nigeria under the APC-led government has consistently run on budget deficits since it came to power in 2015. And that these budget deficits are often above the 3% threshold permissible under the Fiscal Responsibility Law. End of quote. This is a misrepresentation of facts. The truth is that Nigeria has been running on budget deficit since 2009 and not since 2015. And this was even when oil prices were over US $100 per barrel. You will, however, recall that oil prices fell significantly from mid-2014, resulting in the country's economic recession in 2016. The urgency to recover from the recession through an expansionary fiscal policy resulted in the continued budget deficits. However, in the last 3 years, the deficit level exceeded the 3% threshold stipulated in the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007. Again, this is understandable because shortly after the Nigerian economy recovered from the recession, it was hit by the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. What His Excellency, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, failed to tell his audience is that the Fiscal Responsibility Act, Section 1, Subsection 12, Subsection 2, allows for the budget deficit to exceed the 3% threshold if, in the opinion of the President, there's a clear and present of national security and the sovereignty of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Gentlemen, I'm sure you will agree with me that COVID-19 pandemic triggered an existential threat in all economies of the world, Nigeria inclusive. Though Nigeria quickly recovered from the economic recession, it is now facing the effects of the Russia-Ukraine war, the lingering impact of COVID-19, and elevated inflation as in most economies, prompting monetary tightening with adverse effects on capital inflow to emerging market economies. While Nigeria may be facing economic challenges, former Vice President's pronouncement that the future of the country's economy is bleak is sheer scaremongering. The country's economic outlook is not bleak. Instead, the economy has been resilient, having recovered from 2 recessions within 5 years, in 2016 and 2020. The Nigerian economy has sustained its recovery from the 2020 recession for the 7th consecutive quarter, growing by 3.54% in real terms in Q2 2022, from the 3.11% in Q1 2022. Many sectors recorded positive economic growth in Q2 2022, reflecting the effective implementation and success of policy measures prescribed in the Economic Sustainability Plan, ESP, Annual Budget, Finance Act, and National Development Plan. On debt, former Vice President said, and I quote, "We will review the country's debt strategy by focusing on concessional and semi-concessional sources with lower interest rates and relatively long-term maturity." End of quote. Again, that is already being done by this administration. In order to manage debt service costs and reduce refinancing risk, the thrust of the strategy is that this administration will maximize concessional borrowing from multilateral and bilateral sources. In addition, new borrowings in the domestic and international capital markets would be for long tenors. Concessional borrowings are in any case long-term loans. To confirm the commitment of this administration to the above strategy and the implementation, over 58% of the external debt stocks as at March 31st, 2022 was from multilateral and bilateral sources, while short-term domestic debt was less than 22% of the total domestic debt stock as at the same date. In any case, the Lagos-Ibadan, the Abuja-Kaduna, and the Warri-Itakpe gauge rail lines were constructed with concessional loans, just like the ongoing rehabilitation of the Port-Harcourt-Maiduguri narrow gauge line. Same applies to the new airport terminals in Abuja, Lagos, Kano, Enugu, and Port-Harcourt. So the former Vice President moved, and he has nothing new to say on this. And on security, all that the leader of a party that frittered the money meant for the purchase of weapons and platforms for the military of frivolous activities could say is, and I quote, "We will take tough and difficult decisions on security matters without fear or favor." Is that all? While they lost confidence in our military and opted instead for mercenaries, President Muhammadu Buhari, who has never wavered in his belief in the capability of our fighting forces, steadily re-equipped the military, restored its pride and glory, and today the military is decimating the bandits and terrorists that had held sway in some parts of the country, thus restoring security. Gentlemen, let me say that I'm not really very surprised. His Excellency, former Vice President, only reeled out in his so-called economic blueprint what we have been doing in the past 7 years plus in infrastructure development, infrastructure finance, poverty reduction, power reform, job creation, leadership with the private sector, debt management, and the overall management of the economy. That's what you get from a presidential candidate who leaves the country after losing an election, only to parachute into town when another election is due. It is a measure of how much this administration has achieved in all sectors that the best the opposition will do is to seek to copy what the administration has been doing. Yet the opposition, in its desperation to get power, has continued to deny and derogate the administration's achievements. For the records, there's nothing we have said today on the achievements of this administration that we haven't said before in various fora. However, no amount of deceit, misrepresentation, scaremongering, distortion of facts, or derogation can subtract from the visible achievements of the Buhari administration. Implementation. Over 58% of the external debt stocks as at March 31st, 2022 was from multilateral and bilateral sources, while short-term domestic debt was less than 22% of the total domestic debt stock as at the same date. In any case, the Lagos-Ibadan, the Abuja-Kaduna, and the Warri-Itakpe style gauge rail lines were constructed with concessional loans, just like the ongoing rehabilitation of the Parakot-Maiduguri narrow gauge line. Same applies to the new airport terminals in Abuja, Lagos, Kano, Enugu, and Parakot. So the former vice president goofed, and he has nothing new to say on this. And on security, all that the leader of a party that frittered the money meant for the purchase of weapons and platforms for the military of frivolous activities could say is, and I quote, "We will take tough and difficult decisions on security matters without fear or favor." Is that all? While they lost confidence in our military and opted instead for mercenaries, President Muhammadu Buhari, who has never wavered in his belief in the capability of our fighting forces, steadily re-equipped the military, restored its pride and glory. And today the military is decimating the bandits and terrorists that had held sway in some parts of the country, thus restoring security. Gentlemen, let me say that I'm not really very surprised. His Excellency, former Vice President, only reeled out in his so-called economic blueprint what we have been doing in the past 7 years plus in infrastructure development, infrastructure financing, poverty reduction, power reform, job creation, relationship with the private sector, debt management, and the overall management of the economy. That's what you get from a presidential candidate who leaves the country after losing an election, only to parachute into town when another election is due. It is a measure of how much this administration has achieved in all sectors that the best the opposition could do is to seek to copy what the administration has been doing. Yet the opposition, in its desperation to get power, has continued to deny and derogate the administration's achievements. For the records, there's nothing we have said today on the achievements of this administration that we haven't said before in various fora. However, no amount of deceit, misrepresentation, scaremongering, distortion of facts, or derogation can subtract from the visible achievements of the Buhari administration. An administration that engaged in massive infrastructure development despite paucity of resources. An administration that introduced the most expansive and effective poverty reduction and job creation policy in the history of this country. An administration that re-equipped the military and restored its pride and glory to tackle daunting security challenges instead of resorting to the use of mercenaries. An administration that is moving the nation from darkness to light by embarking on the most ambitious electricity project yet. An administration that is partnering with the private sector to tackle the challenges facing the nation. An administration that borrowed to rebuild rather than for consumption should not be denigrated by an opposition that lacks originality and depth, and an opposition that is aping a government its rights. I thank you for your kind attention.